The sound hit me before I even opened the door. Two diesel engines ticking as they cooled, that metallic ping echoing through my garage like a countdown to trouble. When I stepped outside, I stopped dead. Two massive trucks were jammed into my garage, blocking everything. The air reeked of exhaust and oil, that sharp, burnt smell stinging my nose. Dark stains were already spreading across the concrete I'd kept spotless since Sarah died. And there she was, Brenda, standing in her kitchen window with a mug of coffee and a smirk that could curdle milk, like she'd just won some secret game I didn't even know I was playing. She had no idea what she'd stepped into. Deputy Martinez was scheduled to come by in 2 hours to pick up tactical gear, and the woman who'd just filed a $2,000 HOA complaint against me for unauthorized commercial activity had just parked her business right inside the sheriff's leased property. I could already see how this was going to go down. My name's Dale Hensley, 52 years old, retired mechanic. 28 years at the Ford dealership taught me how to fix anything with an engine and how to spot trouble before it ruins your day. But nothing prepared me for Brenda Thompson, the woman who thought she could bully a neighborhood the same way she bullied her customers. I inherited this corner lot ranch house in Millfield, Texas, after Sarah passed 3 years ago. Cancer took her fast, and the bills took everything else. Now it's just me, my German Shepherd Rex, and a mortgage that barely stays afloat. My salvation came from a simple idea: rent out my detached 3-car garage. The county sheriff's department needed a secure space for storage, and my garage was perfect. $400 a month might not sound like much, but when you're living on disability and a thin pension, that money keeps the lights on. Deputy Martinez has been renting it for 18 months. He's respectful, punctual, and never leaves a mess. The place smells like old oil and metal, honest smells that remind me of my working years. Everything ran smooth until Brenda moved in. She showed up 6 months ago, dragging 2 oversized trucks and an ego to match. Her husband, Chuck, works oil rigs and is gone most of the year. Lucky man. Within a week, she joined the HOA board, claiming she wanted to enhance property values. What she really meant was controlling everyone else's lives. She runs a landscaping business out of her house, loud engines, bright green mowers, piles of mulch bags stacked in her yard like sandbags before a storm. Her driveway barely holds one of her vehicles, so she started using mine. The first red flag came during her backyard barbecue 2 months back. The kind of party that could wake the dead. Loud music, booze flowing like water, hired DJ shaking windows until midnight. Around noon, both of her trucks appeared in my driveway, blocking everything like they'd been invited. I walked over, trying to stay polite. The air was thick with barbecue smoke and diesel fumes. "Brenda, I need you to move your trucks," I said. "Deputy Martinez has his equipment checked this afternoon." She didn't even turn fully around, just kept arranging her catered trays. "It's temporary overflow parking, Dale. One afternoon won't kill anyone." "It's my property," I said, trying to keep my voice level. Her smile turned sharp. "Don't be dramatic." Those trucks sat there for 6 hours. When Deputy Martinez arrived, he had to park on the street, walking around her vehicles with his gear. He didn't complain, but I could tell he wasn't happy. I apologized 3 times, most humiliating day since I retired. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about convenience. It was about control. The next week, I saw her taking photos of my property from every angle. My garden, my fence, even Rex's doghouse. She said she was updating neighborhood records. 2 days later, I found a letter taped to my front door, $2,000 HOA violation for unauthorized commercial activity. She was trying to shut down my sheriff's lease. My only income. I held that flimsy piece of paper in my hand and looked up at her window. There she was again, smirking with that same smug satisfaction. She thought she'd found my weak spot. But Brenda made one big mistake. I document everything. 3 days later, another envelope appeared. Certified mail this time. The complaint accused me of running a business that violated zoning laws. It demanded immediate termination of all commercial activity. And just like that, the war had officially begun. Most folks would have panicked. Me? I spent Saturday at the county courthouse, a place that smells like dust and coffee from 30 years ago. Clerk named Martha, glasses sliding down her nose, helped me dig through the property archives. She squinted at my original deed and smiled. Well, honey, looks like your garage was built 15 years before that HOA even existed. You've got what's called grandfathered use. They can't touch it. I nearly laughed out loud. Sarah would have loved that twist. But I wasn't done. I kept digging. That's when I found the golden ticket, Brenda's own violation. According to municipal code, commercial vehicles over 10,000 pounds can't be parked overnight in residential zones without a permit. Both her trucks exceeded that limit, and she had no permits on file. Tuesday came fast. The emergency HOA meeting was set in the community center, a stale room that smelled like burnt coffee and Lysol. Brenda sat in the center like a queen behind her folding table, acting like she ran a courtroom. "Mr. Hensley," she began, pretending to check her notes. "Your unauthorized commercial lease clearly violates Section 4(3) of our covenant. We're prepared to impose fines." I slid my documents across the table. "Actually, my garage was built in 1987. Your HOA didn't exist until 2002. That's called grandfathered protection." The room went silent. Then Frank Morrison, old postmaster and neighborhood historian, leaned forward, chuckling. "He's right. I remember when Dale built that garage. My wife brought him lemonade while he worked." Brenda's face turned the color of bad sunburn. "That's irrelevant." "Speaking of relevance," I said calmly, pulling out my photos, "your 2 trucks exceed the residential weight limit. You've been parking them illegally for 6 months. Frank burst out laughing. "Well, Brenda, looks like you better learn your own rules." The board voted 4-0 in my favor and fined her instead. Walking out into the evening air, I could still smell that faint diesel exhaust, but this time it smelled like victory. Through her window I saw her pacing, phone pressed to her ear. She wasn't done. She was just getting started. I thought Brenda would calm down after getting embarrassed at that HOA meeting. But 2 days later, a new letter showed up in my mailbox. Thick envelope. County seal. My gut told me she wasn't done. Inside was a notice from Millfield City Planning accusing me of creating an unauthorized commercial district on residential property. There were photographs of Deputy Martinez's patrol car, delivery vans, even me talking to county staff in my own driveway. Someone had filed a formal zoning complaint, and someone had used a telephoto lens. The letter cited Municipal Code Section 8(4) and demanded that I appear before the Planning Commission in 2 weeks. It even included the phrase, quote, "concerned residents." I didn't need to guess who that meant. The smell of coffee went bitter in my kitchen as I reread the paperwork. Brenda wasn't satisfied with losing at the HOA. Now she was trying to weaponize City Hall. I decided to visit Jennifer Walsh, the planning officer who'd signed the notice. The city office was a gray basement that smelled like mildew and old printer ink. Jennifer looked up from her desk, tired eyes behind smudged glasses. She fidgeted when she saw my paperwork. "Mr. Hensley," she said, nervous, "you're here about the complaint?" "I'm here about the truth," I told her. "And maybe about the person feeding you false information." Her fingers tightened on her pen. "I can't discuss ongoing cases." "That's fine," I said, keeping my voice even. "But maybe you can explain something about home business permits." I pulled out a file I'd printed the night before. Turns out Brenda's landscaping business listed her home address as headquarters, but she'd never filed for a home occupation permit. According to the same city code she'd used against me, she was operating illegally. Jennifer's face flushed. "How heavy are those trucks of hers?" she asked quietly. "Over 12,000 pounds each," I said, "both parked overnight, no permits." She sighed, rubbing her forehead. "This puts me in a difficult position." "I'm not asking for anything under the table," I said. "Just make sure the Planning Commission has all the facts." 2 weeks later, I walked into that hearing room with a folder full of evidence and a calm heart. Brenda was already there, dressed in her Businesswoman of the Year outfit, briefcase at her feet, fake smile plastered on her face. Her husband Chuck looked miserable sitting beside her. "Mr. Hensley's operation fundamentally alters the residential character of our neighborhood," she began, reading her notes like a prosecutor. "We have documented proof of increased traffic and commercial use." Her voice dripped with confidence. She handed over photos of the sheriff's vehicles, each one printed in glossy color. Then it was my turn. "Commission members," I said, standing slow, steady, deliberate. "Mrs. Thompson here is absolutely right that we should protect neighborhood character. That's why I was surprised to learn that she herself is operating a commercial business from her home without proper permits." Gasps rippled through the audience. I laid out her business registration, lack of permits, and the municipal code section she violated. I even showed photos from her barbecue where she met clients and accepted payments. Jennifer Walsh, sitting behind the commission, cleared her throat. "Mr. Chairman, we've reviewed the documents Mr. Hensley submitted. They are accurate." The room went dead quiet. Chairman Robert Hayes adjusted his glasses. "Mrs. Thompson, are you aware that your business exceeds weight limits and lacks proper permits?" Brenda's voice wavered. "That's completely different." "Actually," Hayes said, "it's exactly the same law you cited against Mr. Hensley." The vote was unanimous, 5-0 to dismiss her complaint. Then they handed her violation notices for illegal commercial operations. Chuck muttered something under his breath, but Brenda just sat frozen, her face pale as chalk. That night, I found fresh scratches on my mailbox. Then came an anonymous complaint to animal control about Rex barking. He never barked at night, but Brenda was getting desperate. Friday morning, another envelope appeared. This one from her insurance company. According to the claim, a patrol car had damaged her fence during a sheriff's visit. Estimated cost, $3,500. Emotional distress included. I walked over to inspect the fence. The scratches were fresh, too perfect, and smelled like paint thinner. The marks were straight lines. Same height, same angle. Someone had faked damage. "Morning, Dale," called Mildred, my 78-year-old neighbor, trimming her roses with steady hands. "Funny thing, I saw Brenda out there yesterday evening with a spray can. Looked fine before she started painting it." Mildred's Ring doorbell caught everything. 6:47 p.m., clear as day. Brenda painting fake damage onto her fence. The next day, the insurance investigator, Carl Thompson, came by. A tired man with a sharp eye, camera in hand. He studied the fence, muttering, "Scratches are too uniform. These weren't made by a vehicle." He examined the footage, eyebrows rising. "Well, Mr. Hensley, this is textbook fraud." When he confronted Brenda, she cracked immediately. "This is all a misunderstanding," she stammered. "The video shows you creating damage," Carl said flatly. "Withdraw your claim in 24 hours or face felony fraud charges." By lunch, the claim was withdrawn. By evening, everyone in Millfield knew Brenda had tried to scam her insurance company. Chuck lost it that night. His angry voice echoed across the yard. "Brenda, this has to stop. I'm not going to jail because of your nonsense." But cornered animals are dangerous, and Brenda wasn't done yet. The next morning, I got 2 new complaints. One from animal control, one from the health department, both anonymous. Someone was trying to bury me in paperwork. Then came the county tax reassessment notice. My stomach dropped reading it. My property value had suddenly jumped 40%, doubling my taxes to nearly $6,000 a year. I couldn't afford that, not even close. Something didn't add up. Only a few houses on our street were reassessed, all owned by retirees. I drove to the county assessor's office, a building that smelled like stale coffee and old carpet. The clerk, Janet, pulled up my records. "Your reassessment was triggered by a complaint about unauthorized commercial improvements," she said, tapping her screen. "It came through the city planning office." My pulse kicked up. Brenda again. I went straight to City Hall. Jennifer Walsh was waiting, guilt written all over her face. "Mr. Hensley," she said softly, "Brenda's been pushing for reassessments on elderly homeowners. She calls them investment opportunities." Quote. Jennifer slid me a manila envelope. These are copies of her emails. She's been coordinating complaints to drive people out. Inside were messages describing homeowners as ripe for turnover, names, addresses, even financial notes, my neighbors. Mrs. Patterson, the Rodriguez, Frank Morrison, all listed like targets. Jennifer looked at me, her eyes wet. I can't undo what's been filed yet, but this should help you fight back. I held that envelope like dynamite. Brenda wasn't just a bully anymore, she was a predator. And it was time to stop her. That envelope from Jennifer felt like holding proof of a crime. Brenda hadn't just targeted me. She was running a coordinated scheme to force out older homeowners and scoop up their properties cheap. I took the evidence straight to legal aid, tucked into the courthouse basement that smelled like burnt coffee and determination. The attorney on duty, Rebecca Martinez, happened to be Deputy Martinez's sister. She looked through the paperwork with razor-sharp focus. "Dale, this isn't a neighbor dispute anymore," she said. "This is organized harassment with financial intent. We'll file harassment complaints and loop in law enforcement." We decided to build a coalition: me, Mildred, Mrs. Patterson, the Rodriguez, and Frank Morrison. All of us had been hit by Brenda's complaints in one way or another. We met in Mildred's kitchen, surrounded by the comforting smell of fresh cookies and lemon polish, while our anger simmered beneath the surface. Frank brought HOA records showing Brenda had requested lists of elderly residents under the guise of quote, 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 quote. Mrs. Patterson had notes about Brenda photographing houses when people weren't home. The Rodriguezes had noise citations filed within hours of HOA arguments. She was methodical, documenting weaknesses, then striking where it hurt most. We started collecting everything: video clips, letters, timestamps, photographs. Mildred's Ring doorbell network became our surveillance hub. Each of us agreed, no more reacting. We'd stay calm, stay united, and let the evidence speak. It didn't take long for Brenda to make her next mistake. 2 days later, someone dumped motor oil across my driveway at midnight. The slick black stain glistened under my porch light, stinking like burned rubber. But Brenda hadn't thought it through. The oil trail led right back toward her house, clear as breadcrumbs. Environmental Services tested it and confirmed it matched commercial landscaping equipment oil. That was strike one. Strike two came when Rex's water bowl smelled like bleach. The vet confirmed it was chemical poisoning. He survived, but barely. That moment stripped away any remaining patience I had. She wasn't just after property now. She was willing to hurt my dog to do it. The next morning, Rebecca filed official reports for criminal mischief, animal endangerment, and environmental contamination. Deputy Martinez opened an investigation personally. Meanwhile, Brenda kept unraveling. Mildred's cameras caught her sneaking through yards at night, flashlights in hand, checking property lines. Mrs. Patterson's new security system filmed her trying to disconnect the air conditioning unit behind the house. We had her caught red-handed on multiple counts of trespassing and vandalism. Then came the final straw. One quiet Thursday morning, fire trucks screamed down our street toward Mrs. Morgan's house 3 blocks away. The kitchen was on fire, but when the crew arrived, they found construction barriers blocking their normal access route, barriers that hadn't been there the day before. Those barriers delayed their response by minutes that could have cost a life. Fire Chief William Torres investigated and discovered those same barriers had been purchased by Brenda's landscaping company. That turned the whole case from harassment to criminal endangerment. The sheriff's office, fire department, and city council all started coordinating investigations. Rebecca prepared our formal complaint packet, dozens of pages of evidence showing Brenda's pattern of targeting vulnerable homeowners. But Brenda still thought she could scare me into backing down. Saturday morning, an envelope appeared under my front door. Photos of me, of Rex, even shots taken through my kitchen window. A message written in block letters: "Sell while you still can." Enough was enough. Sunday morning, she showed up in person. I was refilling Rex's water bowl when she appeared at my back gate, wearing khakis and a forced smile, carrying another manila envelope. "Dale," she said sweetly, "we need to talk." I hit record on my phone before I even opened the gate. "What can I do for you, Brenda?" She smiled like a snake. "I'm willing to make this all go away." $20,000 cash if you end your lease with the sheriff's department. Clean slate, no hard feelings. My heart thudded, but I kept my face calm. That's generous. Why so interested in my property? Her voice dropped low, confident. Let's just say I have development plans for this neighborhood. Your corner lot's prime real estate, Dale. With a few adjustments, it could be worth triple. So this was about money the whole time? I asked. Brenda leaned closer. You can take the offer and walk away with cash, or you can keep fighting and watch every part of your life get harder. I have friends at City Hall, county planning, even the tax office. Bureaucracy can be challenging for people who don't cooperate. Quote, that was it. Clear extortion caught in HD audio. Then she said the line that sealed her fate. I'd hate for anything to happen to Rex while you're deciding. Dogs can be so vulnerable. Rex growled deep in his throat. I kept my voice steady. I'll think about it, Brenda. She smiled, certain she'd won, and walked away. I texted Rebecca immediately. Got her confession recorded. 2 days later, the town council meeting looked more like a courtroom. Every seat filled, cameras rolling, neighbors shoulder to shoulder. The tension was electric. Brenda showed up with an expensive lawyer and her fake smile. I showed up with Rebecca, our coalition, and a flash drive full of evidence. Deputy Martinez spoke first, reading from his report. We've confirmed repeated vandalism, environmental violations, and attempted extortion. This was a coordinated campaign targeting elderly and disabled homeowners. Then it was my turn. I played the recording. Brenda's voice filled the room, crystal clear, offering me $20,000, threatening government retaliation, even hinting at harming Rex. The silence afterward was absolute. When the playback ended, Fire Chief Torres stepped forward. Those construction barriers placed before Mrs. Morgan's fire were purchased by her company, he said. Someone could have died because of that obstruction. The mayor, Patricia Rodriguez, looked like she'd swallowed a lemon. Mrs. Thompson, do you have anything to say for yourself? Brenda tried to spin it as misunderstandings, but the crowd had turned. Frank Morrison stood up and shouted, "We've got your HOA minutes calling elderly neighbors obstacles to progress." Applause broke out. Cameras flashed. When order returned, the mayor announced the city would fully cooperate with the county prosecutor. Moments later, Deputy Martinez stepped forward again, reading Brenda her rights. She went pale, hands shaking as the cuffs clicked shut. The crowd erupted in cheers that echoed through the chamber. Chuck just sat in the back, face buried in his hands. Brenda was charged with extortion, fraud, vandalism, environmental crimes, and obstruction of emergency services. Justice, at last. 3 months later, Millfield was back to being the town I'd fallen in love with. Brenda's house sold to a young couple who actually baked cookies for their neighbors. The HOA elected Frank president, and transparency became the new rule. Rebecca expanded her legal program to help other towns fight HOA harassment. And me? I expanded my lease with the sheriff's department and added the fire department's emergency supply storage. The extra income covered my taxes and gave me peace of mind. Rex even got an honorary K9 certificate, presented at the block party where the whole town came together. The smell of barbecue mixed with laughter and diesel smoke from the parked fire truck. Watching my neighbors laugh under the Texas sunset, I realized Brenda hadn't destroyed our neighborhood. She'd made it stronger. Evil thrives when good people stay quiet. But when a community stands up together, even the loudest bully goes silent. So if you've ever had a neighbor from hell, or a crooked HOA breathing down your neck, don't give up. Gather proof, stand together, and remember, sunlight always beats shadows. I'm Dale, and this was my story.